Hi everyone, Danny Townsend here. Hope you're all well and enjoying the off season. It's been a bunch of months now since the last grand final, and it's been a very busy off season. And we've been waiting to update you all on a bunch of initiatives that have been working on in the off season. A lot going on the last couple of weeks, particularly as it relates to our men's and women's squads. Also, some of the fixtures that we've just recently announced. I'll talk to those today. And a bunch of other key strategic projects that we're managing at the club at the moment as we look forward to another huge season for Sydney FC. We've had a lot of members. Thank you very much for sending in your questions. A lot of questions actually, so hopefully I'll get through most of them, and if there's any others that pop up during the course of the live chat, then by all means I'll try and get to those later in the session. So just to start off with, we'll start with the men's and women's squads. Both squads are complete now. The men have been back training for about 8 weeks, and as you would have seen with the delay in the season to start November 19, it's going to be a long pre-season for the boys as they really get fit. Difficult today. Caught up with Steve, and the guys are really looking forward to playing meaningful matches. And with the FA Cup being delayed, it's also it really been frustrating for them to go to training every day and not have games to play. But we're playing in-house fixtures on a reasonably regular basis. But the guys are in good spirits and really looking forward to getting back to playing some competitive games when the lockdown lifts in mid-October. The women's team squad is really coming together nicely. We've got another strong team that we think will challenge again for the premiership and defend its premiership and go after another championship, I should say, in the women's league. I think the women's training starts again early October, and you would have seen as well through the fixture announcements from APL that season will commence on December 4. Congrats also to Nat Tobin, who was appointed as our W League captain for this season. Nat's been a stalwart at the club, been a fantastic contributor the last couple of years, and we really look forward to seeing her lead the way for the W League team into the next season in the absence of Teresa Plyce. So without further ado, I might jump into some questions. I've got one question here from Bo. How can Sydney FC become more competitive in the Asian Champions League on field? Well, look, the Asian Champions League, as we've seen over the years, is a very challenging competition for Australian teams to play in, and I think you're right there, Bo, in your assessment that we have underperformed. But that all said, I think when you look at the matchups we've had over the last few years, going home and away against Shanghai SIPG and tying with them on aggregate and putting in some really good performances, but probably not delivering on the points that we need to progress through the next round. So, as always, it probably remains the one competition that our club really wants to step up and perform better in. So we look forward to that early in the new year. We don't really know what that looks like just yet. The AFC have been trying to work out how to navigate the pandemic and work out whether or not we're going to be able to play that Champions League in the format that we're used to. Whether that's hubs or other means of getting that competition away, we're yet to fully understand. But I think in terms of what we're doing to really look at how we perform better in it, Steve and Han Berger are talking regularly about what we need to do from a tactical perspective to compete with some of those clubs with enormous budgets. To your point there as well around China and the changes in China, I think you would have seen recently with Evergrande going under and looking to be saved by government funds. There's definitely going to be a change up, we think, in the Chinese Super League, and but that said, traditionally it's been the Japanese and Korean clubs that have performed better in the Champions League anyway. So we've just got a lot of work to do to really compete with clubs at that level, but I think we're not far off making a real fist of it into the near future. What is Sydney FC's strategy to grow Asian Champions League attendances in the future? Look, Champions League attendance are always challenging. They're midweek fixtures typically, and as we know, during school nights and having such a strong family following at Sydney FC, it's difficult to get young families out on midweek fixtures. But you would have seen with announcements through the APL that there's going to be renewed focus on really driving fan engagement, and Sydney FC is going to play their part in filling that digital content that will be prevalent in the new digital platform that the APL will launch next month. So there's a sustained effort around marketing as well to ensure that we spend more money than we've ever spent before in promoting the game. And again, probably more to talk to that when we get into the questions relating to APL and their plans for the upcoming season. Questions from Tony on the Y-League. Are you able to provide any insight on the re-establishment of the Y-League and timing? Well, Tony, the answer to that one is that the Y-League is unlikely to be running this current season. As you'd probably appreciate, we would normally be in training for the Y-League season to commence later in the calendar year. Given COVID and the fact that the Y-League is considered community sport, there'd be no training allowed at the moment for those players, so therefore our ability to stand up that season currently is challenging. So we will be announcing early in the new year a new structure for the W League, which leads me to the second question, which is about the format of the Y League. I think we'll all agree that the Y League format with 8 games per season is absolutely not fit for purpose, and something that APL has always identified as something that needs to be reviewed, and we will be doing that between now and when we relaunch the Y League in the new year. So watch this space, but at the moment, the key focus for us is ensuring that our academy players get the ability to play as many fixtures as they can each year against the best quality opposition in order for them to be prepared for the A-League when they're ready to make that transition. Are all the pathways now through the NSW NPL competition only? Well, I think the way the pathway works is it starts with your community club football and then into the SAP programs around Sydney. We obviously also run our advanced training programs for the elder SAP age groups as we prepare those kids to scout them into our academy program. And then once they're in our academy programs, obviously playing in the NPL competitions, we typically play them up 1 or 2 years in order to really push them. Then when they graduate into what we call the senior academy, which is the under 20s and our NPL first team, and then transition from there into the Y League and A League beyond that. So I think you'd agree there's been an amazing bunch of talent coming through our A League academy the last couple of years, particularly as that academy gets to a point where we've got players like Callum Neuenhoff who get into our A-League team and make a real impact. And he's been with our club for many years, so gives us the opportunity to really have a really strong influence over their football development. So in terms of that, the Y League, the men's and women's fixture updates, you would have seen last week the APL announced that the season was being pushed back to the 19th of November, largely taking into account 2 key concerns. One for us was ensuring that we were able to get the games away. That with the pandemic and the border issues that are going with that, mean it was important that we put together a competition that allowed us to have the players move around and be able to complete the fixtures without any challenges. So that was the first challenge. The second was to ensure that we could get as many members and fans in stadiums as we can. Critical to our game is the support our members and our fans provide in the live experience. So being able to ensure that we could get as many of our fans back in the stadiums to really kick the season off in style was something we felt was really important, which is why the delay. Which sort of leads me to Carlo's question, which is what will stadium capacities be when the season starts? Well, we were told originally that at 80%, that it was a high likelihood that we'd get more than 50% into stadiums. We found out today that the government has provided advice that at this stage there'll be 50% or 5,000 people max in stadiums at that point in time. So we would be hoping by the time our first home game comes around that there'll be a good chance we'll be at 90%. And at that point, we'd like to think there'd be a lot more members and fans able to access our fixtures by the time that first home game comes around. So look, in terms of the fixtures for our men and women's team, an exciting first 6 weeks. We're playing in a bit more of a hub / sort of conference system that will ensure that we're not moving around interstate, with 5 New South Wales teams and Wellington Phoenix coming into New South Wales, allows us to play a bunch of fixtures leading into Christmas with a view to seeing borders relax hopefully around Christmas and New Year and have us return to a fairly normal cadence of matches both at home and interstate. Some great fixtures, like I said, some derbies, a bunch of derbies both on the men and women's side early on the season, a bunch of exciting double headers for us to host. So a lot to look forward to as we kick the season off in late November. FFA Cup and Champions League is the next topic. As it relates to FA Cup, we're in constant dialogue with the FA who run that competition. You would have seen the last couple of weeks there has been some matches played in Queensland, South Australia and WA. Great to see football back. albeit in different states. But they remain committed to completing the FA Cup this season. They've got a bit of an extended window with the AFC to have that competition complete by the new year in January. So we'll probably see that completed through midweek fixtures in concert with the A-League as and when we all get started. The other one is the AFC Champions League. We're still yet to really get any clarity from the AFC on that. As you can probably appreciate, the pandemic is causing all sorts of problems in scheduling international events like that, particularly when they're typically run on a home and away basis. You would have seen the last couple of ACLs were delivered through a hub. Whether or not that happens again next year, we still are unsure, but we remain committed to the Champions League. It's a competition that we know we need to perform better in, and one that I know Steve and the team are really excited about having another opportunity to do better this time around. Membership update is the next one on the list here, and really excited by the numbers that we've got at the moment coming through. We're heading into our fourth season of displacement, and the continued support from members has been phenomenal over the first 3 years, and the fourth year looks no different. The great news is there's light at the end of the tunnel. We can see the stadium really coming to life now, and the team at the club are really doing a lot of work to start thinking about how we can make that experience an amazing one for the members as we transition from our temporary homes at Jubilee, Leichhardt, SCG, and back into the new Sydney Football Stadium when it's complete. For those that have received their member packs, I think that new select your own membership pack strategy was one that was really well received. The feedback we got from members was great, so thank you for that. Hopefully you've started to arrive on your doorstep and you're unpacking those and really getting into the products that you've got. We'll be continuing to innovate. One of the things that our membership department are really committed to, particularly as we look towards moving back into the stadium, is you'll start to see that there is a bunch of activity that will start very early on in the new season where our members will be afforded privileges to really identify which seats they want as we move back into the new stadium. And I'll talk a bit on the new stadium in a moment. Football stadium update. So, like I said, the stadium is looking like it's coming along really quickly. You would have seen 2020 was very much about all the pilings and the work underground that really was hard to get excited about a bunch of cranes and a bunch of dirt. But there's a lot of work going on there that allowed us to get into a situation where we are, if you've driven past and you're lucky enough to live in the LGA and see what's going on there at Moore Park, it is phenomenal. And by November, the facade of the stadium will be complete. So for all intents and purposes, as you drive past, it will look like it's complete. 2022 will see largely all the work focused on the fit out internally, but from all the work we've seen through Venues New South Wales and John Holland the builder, it's an amazing facility. And as we get into opening that up for you guys, you'll start to see more and more of what's going on behind closed doors in there, and really get you excited about what being the first team to play their full season in that stadium will be. We will be the first team that will kick off its regular season there in October of next year and complete its first full season. The NRL final series is likely to be played in there, assuming it's open on time, but we'll definitely be the first club to start their season in that new stadium. What we will start to see is a campaign earlier on in the new year where you'll get to get a better view from what your seats might look like in the areas of the stadium that you see yourselves bunkering down for the next decade. But all of that will be revealed early in the new year. But the team are doing a lot of work on that seat allocation and really looking at best ways in which we can engage our members to reward them for their loyalty. Over the years we're in the old Sydney Football Stadium, and particularly our time away from the stadium over the last 3 years. So you'll see that ramp up in 22. We have a question from Michael on the new stadium. Do you foresee members being invited into the new stadium next year to examine the seating options before choosing memberships? And will free travel be back on the table once we return to the Sydney Football Stadium? Unfortunately not. And when I say unfortunately not in terms of getting into the stadium to choose your seat. We intend to have all of our membership renewal and packages on the market well before anyone's able to access the stadium. So I think, unfortunately, time will beat us to that one. But ultimately, we'll be providing you with a lot of virtual reality and other ways of demonstrating what views from certain seats will look like to ensure you get the best possible vantage point when the stadium opens. And in terms of public transport, yes, we're working with the precinct on a precinct-wide solution for integrated ticketing and ensuring that access to the stadium via public transport is as seamless and as cost-effective as possible. Chris has asked, will there be seating allocated to members on the western side of the stadium? Yes. The lower bowl is very similar to the old Sydney Football Stadium bowl, so the same type of seating arrangement available, but a much steeper rake and a much closer viewing experience to the pitch. There'll be about 3,000 reserved seats in that area for members, which would be great. We're also looking at how we can open up some popular areas like Cove Heights and others that we know are very popular with our long-term members. So those will be rolled out early in the new year in line with the broader membership packages. In terms of centres of excellence, I think you would have seen we announced the Sky Park a couple of months ago. Such an exciting initiative for our club, a game changer really for how we'll be able to integrate both our football departments, our youth academies, our female academy that we announced as well, which we're equally excited about, and combining those with our administration, something that our club's never had before, and being able to get into that facility next year as well is something we're all looking forward to. So a really exciting year for us in 2022 with the opening of two world-class facilities, a stadium for all of us to enjoy on game day, but importantly a centre of excellence that will be open to our members and community 365 days a year. We're at a point where we're about to appoint the builder for that project and expect to break ground in late October with a 10 to 11 month build attached to that facility. So really looking forward to that, and it will be a game changer for our club on many levels. Digital plans for the new Sydney FC website and app. So essentially the new platform the A-Leagues is launching in October is going to be a game changer for our code, not just for Sydney FC, not just for the APL, but for all of football. The platform is the biggest single investment that the APL or any football entity in Australia has made in itself. So it's going to be something that we can all be very, very proud of. Inside that experience, there'll be a very much bespoke Sydney FC experience for our members, but it will sit adjacent to other forms of football content, starting at the community grassroots level all the way through to the A-League, the W League, and other international leagues like the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga and others. So some really exciting announcements on that in the next coming months. Planning on launching that late in October, but it will be a game changer for how we all consume football in this country. Is the new app, this is a question from Stephen, is the new site or the new app going to show historical games? Yeah, I'm not sure if you would have seen the announcement, but APL announced recently that we've hired Richard Bayliss as our head of content there. Richard was the man behind Optus Sport and starting Optus Sport when they took the rights to the Premier League. So he's a football man through and through, and he really is on board for the journey that APL has as it relates to building out that football platform. And in that negotiation, we have managed to secure all the historical archive rights of A-League and W League fixtures from Foxtel, so they'll be available on that app and that digital experience when they're ingested into that platform. Good news there. There'll be a plethora of old matches you can dig up and watch. In terms of our kits, hopefully you saw those last week. Always an interesting time trying to launch kits with leaks and the like. Every year seems to get harder and harder. But look, I hope you'll appreciate kits are always somewhat polarising, but our club's always prided itself on really sleek, clean kits that I think do our brand justice. And I think this year Under Armour have done a fantastic job with our home and away kits, and I think from the reaction that we saw online, the third kit's is a crazy good one, and one that I'm really excited about seeing hit the shelves. So I think again Under Armour have done a fantastic job for us. The kits, I think, and maybe I'm biased, but I think they're by far the best kits in the league, and I'd look forward to seeing them in the stands come November. So also in terms of kit sales, we've sold 4 times as many kits as we have when we launched the original Under Armour kit 2 seasons ago. So I think as an indicator of how popular they've been, sales is always the best indicator. We've had some questions around the women's cuts, and I appreciate that's always a challenging one for us, particularly in retail when we don't have a huge amount of control over the retail of those kits. But we've been working closely with Under Armour and our retail partners to ensure that kits are available in women's cuts, and they will definitely be available in the coming months. We'll be advising when they are available, but rest assured the women's cuts will be there for our fans to buy. It leads us to a question from Marcus on kits. You mentioned the club doesn't have much control over kit merchandise. With the new league structure in place, will that change? Look, one thing that the APL is looking at is its licensing arrangements, and currently there is a licensing arrangement that the FA had that is on foot, that as part of the unbundling, the APL have to continue until it expires at the end of next season. So, but in the meantime, a lot of work is being done by the commercial team at APL and interfacing with us clubs in the best way to really execute on a merchandise program that works for everyone, that works for the retailers, works for the manufacturers, but most importantly, works for the club and their fans. And what is the best way to purchase gear that maximises the income directly to the club store, direct via UA website? Where possible, we always say head to the club store. That's the most direct way of helping the club out by dealing through that club store. But look, at the end of the day, for us, we're about seeing as many fans in our kit as we can. So, wherever you get them, I'm not overly fussed. I just want to see more sky blue kits, more white away kits, but also I think this season a lot of the midnight plum, I think it was called. Colourway for our third kit. So yeah, look, club website, best place to go for that, and then shop. Now, just getting into some more generic questions, and I'll jump into some that have come in during the course of the chat here. This is from Dominic. Doesn't like the Sydney FC current song Bohemian Rhapsody as a club song. Feels it doesn't represent Sydney FC and is a bit of a downer. Suggests Friday on My Mind by the Easy Beats, etc. Can we have an official ballot by members to choose based on why it should be a club song? Just a couple of years ago, we did run a club survey, Dominic, and it was a resounding vote for Bohemian Rhapsody. So that process has been complete. However, that's not to say that's locked forever. I think at some point, maybe moving into the new stadium is a good time to run that process again and see if opinions have changed. But that's that one, Dominic. Dave has 3 questions. Given that you are the Managing Director of APL and Mr. Lederer is the Chairman of AFCA, do you feel that there is a potential conflict of interest of you or Mr. Lederer in also holding senior management roles at your respective clubs? Well, I think the answer to that is no. Part of the reason why Greg O'Rourke is the Commissioner of the League is that all football-related matters sit in his department, are very much quarantined from the work I'm doing with APL with Mr. Lederer and for that matter, the other board members of the APL. We have a huge amount of business critical tasks to complete. Since we unbundled from the FA in January, we had to go through the unbundling process. We had to do a TV deal to secure the long-term future of the game. We've done that with the Viacom CBS Network 10 deal, which I'm sure you'll appreciate is going to be a game changer for our sport, being on primetime TV, main channel, free-to-air on Saturday nights, and on 10 Bold for the W League. So, I think there's that. There's a bunch of other things we've needed to do around getting investment into the game, also building the digital hub I referred to earlier and transforming the fan engagement experience for our fans. So that's the area that I'm focused on with the board. Like I said, that board isn't just about Mr. Lederer from the Wanderers as chairman of APL. Scott Barlow, chairman of Sydney FC, also sits on that board with Simon Pearce from Melbourne City, Chris Fong from Brisbane, and Anthony Pietro from the Melbourne Victory. But we're in the process of appointing 3 independent members to that board and equally an FA-appointed director. So at the moment, we're all focused on just building out the best possible future for the game, and in time we'll work out how to go forward from there. In terms of organisational relationship between APL and AFCA, they are different. AFCA are basically a separate organisation that are a representative group of the clubs. APL is an enterprise. It's a unit trust that owns all of the IP for the 4 professional leagues and operates that IP under licence from the FA. So they're different entities and exist for different reasons. Do you have the time to fulfil both of your roles well, or are you distracted in your role at Sydney, or will you be leaving Sydney Football Club in the near future? At this stage, we haven't contemplated that. I made a commitment to both the club and the board to really dig into this critical period through transition from the FA, and I'll continue to do that until the time means that it's the right time for me to step away. But at the moment, it's extremely busy, but it's very massively rewarding. It's not often you get to play a part in the complete reinvention of the biggest football code in the country, and that's where we're at the moment. We're at the precipice of doing some amazing things. I think you'll see with some announcements this week, next week, and between now and the beginning of the season, there'll be a massive signal of change that our game's very much needed, and to play a role with that, leading the biggest club in the country, but equally playing a role in how we roll that out as a collective bunch of 12 business partners. We hate each other for 90 minutes a week. That's fine. That's what competitive sport is all about. But at the end of the day, there's 12 clubs who are shareholders in the game moving forward, and we're all aligned and making the most of this opportunity. Robin has asked, I'd like to hear about plans of growing the league now that it's independent from the FA, bringing back crowds, media hype and some magic that existed a few years back, derbies, etc. Look, absolutely. That is our focus, and that's why we've fought so hard to arrest control of the professional leagues away from the FA. The FA had many mouths to feed, I think, as David Gallup famously once said. And at the end of the day, what we're about is ensuring that there is a laser focus on football fans. And I think just by nature of being a regulator, the regulator gets caught up in managing stakeholders and forgets that at the end of the day that the sport is nothing without its fans and its members. And I think as you'll see from the work APL's doing, is very much geared around ensuring that experience for the fan is better than it ever has before, and connecting the game, uniting the game. There are so many pockets of fans of football in this country that for whatever reason aren't aligned to our leagues, and we've got to do a much better job as APL in connecting those football fans with our sport, and you'll see through our digital strategy that's key to that. So obviously there's the deal we've done with 10, that was key. The launch of the digital hub and the transformation of that will be critical. You'll see a new brand revealed in the coming weeks. It's an exciting new brand, it's an exciting new direction we're taking, the way we promote the game. We're going to be launching a bunch of new concepts around the game. The 90 minutes of football is sacrosanct. I think we all agree on that. But how we go about competing with other codes in shorter formats and other areas that allow us to engage in football in different ways is absolutely part of the APL strategy. You'll see a massive increase in our commitment to marketing. I think we all agree over the years that the amount of marketing that the game had was just insufficient, and the results around crowds and I suppose interest in our game waned as a result of that decline in marketing. And that's not all down to the FA or not all down to Foxtel, whoever everyone had their role to play, but right now we've got a new beginning ahead of us, and the plans we've got in place are pretty significant. We're also in the process of looking at inward investment coming into the APL that will allow us to properly capitalise the game and ensure that we're able to invest ahead of things like the Women's World Cup, and you would have seen from announcements with expansion of the W League, more games, more teams, better facilities, bigger commitments to the players through the CBA. That we are really getting in behind the women's competition and not just waiting for the Women's World Cup to wash over us. We're really going to get out ahead of that and make a huge difference. Stephen, another question from Stephen. The Paramount Plus offering so far is terrible. The apps are available are not good, lacking in many features, not even available on the best TVs. I think you'll see that improved rapidly between now and the start of the season. One thing I know about Viacom CBS is they're a global platform, and they've got some of the best technology available to them around the world. The reality is they stood that first version up in August very quickly in order to launch. We are aware of a lot of work they're doing at the moment to improve the quality of the experience, and I know they're also working with the various different electronics companies to ensure that its access through platforms like the Samsung TV and others are seamless. So we're lucky. We've got about another 8 or 9 weeks until we go live with our first game, so that's critical time for our partners at Paramount Plus to improve that experience, and we know we're committed to that. Dan, Sydney FC continue to produce great talent in our academy, which is fantastic. However, many players end up leaving due to lack of opportunities. What is the club doing to make these youngsters feel valued, sign long-term contracts with the club, etc., etc.? Look, it's often a question that comes up. It's a real challenge in that, we invest a lot in that academy system. It is, I think, the best system in the country, and there's no surprise that we are generating amazing young talent. The challenge is that we're also a club that expects to win. Our members and our fans expect success, and success often means you stick to the tried and tested players. And I think what we've found now, particularly with Steve the last couple of years, is finding a really good balance between giving these young players a chance, like Joel King, who stepped in and did a fantastic job, has gone on to the Olympics and done a fantastic job for the club and established himself as a young but experienced now A-League player. So I think it's very difficult. Great young players are ambitious. I think Marco Tilio is a great example of that. We did everything we could to keep him at the club. We made him as a longer term offer, but he was offered an opportunity to go into the City Football Group structure, and I'm sure some of the enticement there around going on beyond Melbourne City and into their broader network of clubs is a hard offer for a young player to turn down. So look, I think we're definitely cognizant of it. We want to keep these young players with us as long as we can. We've got to be pragmatic. We can't accommodate all of them. We want to accommodate as many as we can, and we want to find that balance between, winning trophies and also blooding some of these players into the A-League team, so we can, as you say in your question, Dan, benefit from the possible transfers that come from those players proving themselves at the highest level in Australia at a young age and going on. So, we are cognizant of it, and we continue to push to give those young players chances. I think you see Steve do that on a regular basis. Why don't we publicise the transfer fees we receive for our players? Because the reason for that is quite often that those deals are done under confidentiality, not for our benefit, but for the purchasing club's stipulation when the transaction goes through. So, we're a club that sticks to what we say we're going to do. We're not leaking things like that. If we do a deal with a club that says they want that transfer fee to be confidential, then we keep it that way, and that's pretty much a standard practice these days. If there's a transfer fee that's out in the media, it's often one that's been leaked or has been speculated on by journalists. So it's very rare that a club would ever talk about its transfer fees, not in Australia or anywhere for that matter. So that's that. So they're the questions that came in before. I'll shift over to some questions that have come through in the chat. So this is from Anthony Vescio. Vesh, how are you, mate? Home crowds pre-COVID at both Allianz and Cogra Leichhardt during our great on-field success have been quite low considering all success. How can we aim for close to 15k plus post restrictions, and what success wasn't getting it pre-COVID? I think it's all about engagement again. We've had a challenge in that our sport's been buried away on Fox 505 for a long time, and with that, the amplification of how the broader media has covered our sport and our league particularly has been slowly diminishing, unfortunately, and that was why it was so important that we were able to pivot into APL and also invest in both the marketing and the promotion of the league. And I think we've done an enormous amount of work through our community departments, engaging with local associations. We couldn't have done more, and I think it's really starting to pay off in terms of our connection with families and with community football. But you can't flick a switch and go from where you are to where you want to be overnight. It's going to take time, but rest assured there is a real commitment both from Sydney FC and APL to get crowd numbers back up above where they were pre 2017, 2018. Let me see here. Can you ask Paramount to sign Adam Peacock, please? Yes, I will do that. I have a lot of time for Adam. I think he's excellent, so I will. I rest assured I've already done that, so I've answered that one. What are the plans for Sydney FC Girls Academy? Is that starting in 2023? Is that instead of New South Wales team? Look, at this stage, we're still in conversations with Football New South Wales around how our academy orientates itself with the NPL, and with that, the New South Wales Institute. We're also working in conjunction with the Wanderers to ensure that we have a really cohesive and clear pathway for young females. It's been a real key focus of mine to get that off the ground. As a father of 2 girls who play football, I always struggled with the fact that there weren't the similar pathways for the females as there are the males, and I think it isn't as simple as just replicating what we've done for the boys. You know, there are important things to think about as we orientate our academy with those existing NPL systems that are, you know, they've been set up and are operating well. But, you know, I think it's getting to a point now where, you know, we need to take up the running and really contribute to the future W League and Matilda stars. You know, at the end of the day, every Matilda that was on field during that Tokyo Olympics came up through the W League, and how we then connect the W League back into the NPL and the youth academies on the female side of things is going to be critical. So no detail yet from Football New South Wales, but we are committed to launching that in 22, not 23. Where are we here? Are we going to get a slice of the marketing budget? A-League memes, yeah, quality, yes. Knowing you blokes, probably, the way you operate. And then you've got another one from A-League memes. When Patrick Wood shows up for training in the morning, do the other boys say morning Wood? I can't confirm or deny. You'll have to get out and watch training and see for yourself. How do the young boys mentally focus if there is no game time for them? Look, it is a challenging one. I think, you know, that's part of the work we do with our young players is the work around resilience and ensuring that, you know, they remain committed to taking their opportunity when it comes. You know, football's a cruel game sometimes, and when players get injured, the young players need to be ready to step up and take their chance. And I think, like I said, with Joel King, you saw with Michael Zullo getting injured, he stepped up and done a fantastic job. You see with Patrick Wood come in when Trent Bahaji got injured, did a fantastic job. So, you know, what I can tell you is that when I go to training and watch those young players, you know, there are more young players at training now than I've ever seen before. Steve has, particularly with not as many games going on at the moment, you know, the best part of 30-odd players in at training every day. And a good sort of 12 of those, 13 of those are under the age of 20. So, you know, they're really being nurtured along. Some of the more experienced guys provide really good foil for them and an opportunity to learn. If you think about what a great opportunity for some of these young guys to train with Milos Ninkovic and Adam Ofonda and Bobo and these type of professionals, yeah, it's a unique opportunity that we make sure they're really focused on learning from and being ready to step up when the time presents itself. Whose idea was the pick and mix members packs? Well, of course, it was my idea, because any great idea at Sydney FC is my idea. No, I didn't have much to do with it. Actually, it was Hannah and Shane in our membership department. I think what they've done is a fantastic initiative in the sense that we've got other clubs and other sports now, you know, calling us up to see how we went about executing on that, given its success, and I think that's going to be, you know, a feature of our membership strategy into the future. So no, credit to those guys. The membership department work really hard, and they're always looking at ways to innovate, and I think this is just the first of many innovations as we move into our new stadium next year. Is Ryan Grant getting a new contract? Well, we hope so. He's got one more year left on his contract, and when he gets back from his current commitments with the Socceroos, he's one of the first people on my list of people to talk to around extending his, I think, already 12 years at the club. And, you know, he's been an amazing servant, and, you know, his value to us, you can't put a price on. So, yeah, we expect Ryan to stay at the club for as long as he's able to. Will Sydney FC be looking at having their own streamers from Josh Vanderbroek? Will Sydney FC be looking at having their own streaming channel content, Sydney FC TV, like other clubs around the world? The beauty of the platform that we're building, the digital platform, will allow a huge amount of digital video and audio content. So you'll see a big step up in the way that direct-to-consumer digital proposition will allow us to essentially become a media business. Both, like you've said there, through audio-visual activities, but you'll hear podcasts, a lot of editorial work. We're building out APL Studios at the centre that Richard Bayless is heading up, and we'll be producing shoulder programming content. A lot of those shows that went away on Foxtel during the week, panel shows, highlight shows, a bunch of different types of shows that will sort of be orientated around different demographic cohorts of football fans. And Sydney FC will definitely have its share of programming that will be placed on that platform. How are staff coping through COVID lockdown? What sort of impact does it have on the staffing structures? I may have missed it at the start of the conversation. No, Anthony Cotty, you didn't miss it. Look, it's obviously challenging for everyone. Football clubs are no different. Probably the ones that benefit the most are the players, because the players are able to get out to the training ground and do their thing day in, day out. Yes, they're missing being able to play competitive matches, which by now in pre-season they would absolutely be playing. But from a general staff perspective, it's been hard. We haven't been able to go into the office. We've all been working remotely. We've got a COVID culture committee amongst the administration that put on catch-up sessions every week with the staff to get on and have a bit of downtime with each other, have a drink, play some quizzes, games, those type of things, just to keep us all plugged in and focused on what we've got to do. We've still got to stand up a season in 8 weeks from now and ensure that come opening up in mid-October, all of our community programs are back up and running and delivering as they have been in the community for many years. So it's been hard, like everyone, but we're getting through it, and hopefully there's the light there at the end of the tunnel that we look forward to opening up to. Adriano has asked, can we train our ball boys and girls to slow speed up the play of our opposition when need be? Well, we have one of the great ball boy coaches in Ross Anderson, who is well tuned on how to brief the kids, and I have spotted firsthand that briefing take place pre-game. Not that we'll tell the opposition that, but no, Ross is the best in the business. Our ball kids are the best in the business, and they'll continue to lead the way like our club does on and off the pitch. So rest assured, Roscoe's got that one under control. Will there be any pre-season games? So that's Oleg. Yes, absolutely there will be. As we get more detail on restrictions and what we're able to do, we'll be able to make further announcements. But absolutely, we need to be going to the season on November 20, which is our first game, the derby at Bankwest, or Combank Stadium as it's now known, with games under our belt. So what we're able to do in terms of have those open to our fans remains to be seen at this stage. But yeah, rest assured there definitely will be pre-season games, and we'll communicate those to members and fans when we have them. What have we got there? Yeah, Tom Foster, latest domestic transfer system. Look, at this stage we're still working through what that means. It's something that it's a little bit complicated because it's not necessarily relating to the APL clubs. This is something that the FA and the PFA are in conversation about because of the impact it has on players. So we're in the process of working through what that actually means and when it will land for APL clubs like Sydney FC. But it's definitely in discussion at the moment, but predominantly between the PFA and the FA. Daniel Rigetto has asked, any chance to organise a fixed fee across the league, $20 for away fans? Used to love the days of having 500 to 1,000 Mariners victory supporters. Yeah, look, I think that's a really good point, Daniel, and one that we're really keen to lean in on. APL is also looking at ways in which we can make it easier for travelling fans to get around the place. It's been obviously difficult with COVID and restrictions around travel, but when that all opens back up, we're working with our airline partners and hotel partners about coming up with some really sharp pricing that we can offer our travelling fans to really encourage them to go and support the team when they're interstate, and equally when they're in the same state playing against Central Coast or Newcastle, or even within Greater Sydney. So yeah, it's a really important point. Again, when I go back to our strategy around putting the fan first and making it as simple as possible for fans to attend games, initiatives like the fixed fee you propose there are definitely ones that we'll be looking at implementing. So I think we've gone an hour apart from the technical stuff ups, but hopefully that has given you guys a bit of a rundown on where things are at the club. I'm really excited about what we have ahead of us. It's we've got such an amazing club here, and we've got an exciting year to come. It's not often you get to open a brand new world-class stadium in downtown Sydney in your spiritual home, and equally then open up a world-class centre of excellence in the training facility that we've called home for the last 9 years at Macquarie. So 2 infrastructure projects that will set the club up for the next 20, 30 years. and equally a really exciting new beginning with APL in control of the league and really thinking more about how we can elevate football to being the number one sport in this country on all metrics, and I think that's our focus. And with Sydney FC being the biggest club in the country, being the biggest club in the biggest league in the country is where we want to be, and that's going to take an effort across not just Sydney FC but all of the other clubs working together to ensure the A-League is in its rightful place at the top of the sporting pyramid in Australia. So with that, I will thank you all for attending. I thank you all for your support. Your ongoing commitment to the club is so amazing, and I know not just myself but the board, Chairman Scott Barlow, all of our staff and players just really appreciate everything you do to get behind us. So thank you very much.